Hey everyone, ahlan wa sahlan fikum. Welcome back to PalWeb TV, I guess this is what this is called now. Yeah, it's been a minute actually. I have been working very hard on PalWeb, the web of Palestinian Arabic, which is offers a suite of tools for learning and documenting spoken Arabic, Palestinian Arabic in particular. I'm really excited that I just launched the Academy yesterday, actually, the section right here, which includes a suite of lessons that include, each one has a deck of words to learn, followed by some skills, which kind of put those words into practice in some kind of specific usage context. There's always something that you can actually learn to do. There's something that you can actually do after going through the lessons. You're tested with an activity, which has there's kind of different interactive types of exercises and stuff like that. And then it all ends with a dialogue, which is meant to, again, put those things into practice in an actual usage context. And you can toggle the words on and off so you can kind of practice with someone, kind of filling in the blanks with your own experience and things like that. So yeah, it took quite a bit of work because I wanted it to be as rich and useful as possible. And obviously it integrates very well with all the things that PalWeb already offers, which is like the dictionary, the sentences and all of that. But yeah, so I haven't really been making videos because of that. And frankly, I'm not really sure if I will make many more videos, like for example this, what we're going to talk about today. I think it'll be kind of sporadic because I have to work on the application itself. But still, I wanted to share some things with you because I do get messages still a lot of the time, people saying that, oh, I really liked your videos, they're very useful and stuff like that, and I feel bad because I haven't made videos in a long time. The information that I'm going to give you is all I'm literally going to go through an article in the wiki. Obviously, the thing is the wiki has all this information that's already out there, well, that I've written, but it is written kind of from a very technical point of view because I want to be as detailed and thorough as possible. But what I want to do with these videos is kind of go back to the format that I used to use where I made videos just talking about like, okay, form one verbs or like, I don't know, topical things like that. I'm kind of coming back full circle because I started with stuff like that and then I thought, okay, well, I think it would be more useful if there was some kind of platform where you can actually not just learn these things in the abstract, which is basically just information, but actually like absorb it, acquire the language. And that's why I made PalWeb. But I think people do still get some use of that, those types of videos because we're bringing all this information, kind of bringing it sort of down to earth. And so I think that's my goal right here. So today we're going to talk about patterns because I think it's one of the things that people have some challenges with when they're learning Arabic. I think in particular we're going to look at the question of broken plurals, of course, but we're going to talk about patterns a little bit more broadly. So yeah, again, the information here, I'm not just going to read this because the information here is kind of expressed again in a very kind of thorough and detailed and a bit technical way, but I want to bring that down to earth and talk about what we can actually gain from this, how this can actually help us be better language learners, basically. So yeah, so let's just, I mean, the article contains other stuff, in particular verbal patterns, stuff that we're not going to talk about. I'm going to focus basically on nouns and adjectives, so singular and plural patterns. But in any case, so yeah, so most terms in Arabic, especially lexical terms like verbs, nouns, and adjectives, are structured according to some pattern. So if you know how the sort of Arabic let's say, root pattern system works, or rather, if you don't, the way it works is almost all words in Arabic, or the vast majority of words in Arabic, can be kind of, you can extract a root from it and a pattern from it. Now, what the root is usually 3 letters or 4 letters, these consonants or consonant vowels, that are kind of put in different kinds of shapes and forms, which are the patterns, and then that gives you the word. So every word is kind of, not every, but the vast majority of words are this combination of a particular set of consonants in a particular pattern. And the kind of language that we're going to use here, or these C's and V's and L's, what this means is C is a consonant, L is a long vowel, and V is a short vowel. The reason I do this is because just to illustrate the actual shape of the pattern, right? So for example, C, V, C, C pattern, this pattern is consonant followed by a vowel, then two consonants. So for example, شغل, we have the first, actually it's almost better to look at the transcription because you can see the vowels. So you have consonant, vowel, short vowel, consonant, consonant. So the word is شغل and the pattern is C, V, C, C. And then a pattern or a word like شغال is consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant, long vowel. And I use a colon here to indicate that it's the same consonant twice, as opposed to CC, which would be two different consonants. So yeah, consonant, short vowel, consonant, consonant, long vowel, consonant. Now, the reason for all of this will be clear as we go through the video, because this might seem a little bit foreign to most of you. But I guess the preview of the reason why this is helpful is because depending on the shape of the singular pattern, a word is more likely to have a certain type of plural pattern. So we can pay attention to the shape we want to pay attention to the shape of the word in the singular in order to be able to derive the plural easily. And actually, I have integrated all of this into the PalWeb dictionary. Words are kind of like tagged by patterns and stuff like that. So we can actually look, I mean, this is the dictionary, right? And there's all kinds of filters. I'm very zoomed in for the sake of the video, but we have all these different filters like nouns and I don't know, like verb form and stuff like that. But we also have this singular and plural drop down. So I'm gonna look at the singular drop down and we see exactly what I just described, right? So CLC is consonant, long vowel consonant. So what does that look like? For example, bal, bab, boo, boom, right? And that's actually helpful because you can kind of just, yeah, sort of group words by their pronunciation and stuff like that. And sometimes, as we'll see, the words can end up being similar in other ways as well, beyond just the form. Another example, let's look at something like this. Consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant, long vowel, consonant. Ibri, argile. It ends in a tamarbuta, but we can ignore the tamarbuta for the sake of the pattern. I don't know. Yeah, any of these. Bar'u, barmil, bustan, bashkir, batriq, or batriq, penguin. So yeah, so you can actually go into PalWeb, into the dictionary, and group words like this. But anyway, so yeah, we don't need any of that. Yeah, so identifying patterns in Arabic is useful for a handful of reasons, specifically for learning. As a learning aid, it reduces the amount of information that you have to recall for a given word because you don't have to, it's not like all words can just have any kind of random shape and they're all sort of just different from each other, which is basically how it works in, I don't know, most other languages, I would say. English, like there's no patterns to words. Words just there can be any kind of combination of consonants and letter and vowels, and not, especially in writing, but even in pronunciation, there's no patterning. But Arabic is not like that. And actually, that's why the Arabic writing system, which doesn't include short vowels, is actually very suited because it kind of, because you have these relatively strict patterns, you don't really need the vowels to be able to know what the vowel should be. Of course, long vowels are written though. So yeah, and also patterns, as we're going to see, this is important. So they carry various types of information. There's kind of three different categories of types of information. First of all, some of them have semantic value, which means the meaning, or they're associated with a particular class of words. So some of the meaning of the word may be inscribed in the very form of the pattern. So what does that mean? It means that some patterns, for example, if we look at this pattern, here, instead of just writing V, you know, for a short vowel, I actually write the I because it's specifically when it's like consonant, I, consonant, or kasra, the I sound. Consonant, I, consonant, I, consonant. Specifically this, right? Like bisher, hilu, well, which comes from hilu, zinech, sihil, si'ab, nigish, etc. What do we notice about all these words? Ugly, sweet, stinky, easy, hard. They're all adjectives. So if you know that this pattern is associated with, or it's exclusive to adjectives, if you see a word in this pattern or you hear a word in this pattern, you'd be able to kind of glean that. So glean what type of word it is. I don't know if this is this is, I mean, a good example as any, but there are others. Not all patterns do have any kind of meaning. Like most don't really, but some do. This one does. Yeah, I don't want to get too into it, but some do. Anyway, yeah, so as I was saying, patterns can express different types of information. One is the semantic value, not that often, but sometimes. Actually, another example would be like the place nouns. Maybe you've heard about the place nouns like maktabe or maktab even, masjid. I don't know, mantiqa, I guess that qualifies as one. Actually, I think I also filtered through that as well. Yeah. Yeah, so they begin with ma, and then ma, consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, maybe a ta marbuta at the end. And they often refer to places, but not really always. So a lot of place nouns are in this pattern, but not all words in this pattern are places necessarily. But for example, mahmas, roastery, makhbaz, bakery, madrasa, school. But then you have other stuff that is like unrelated. But yeah, so sometimes that can be useful. And then also, in terms of syntax, we can group word patterns. So all the patterns in Arabic, we can basically group them into three categories: singular patterns, plural patterns, and verbal patterns. Now I say singular patterns, but because they mostly correspond to singular nouns and singular adjectives. And let's say that the majority of all words in any language really are verbs, nouns, and adjectives. But some other words that aren't, like maybe adverbs and stuff like that, they may also be in a pattern, and it would be a singular pattern, generally speaking. So I say singular pattern, but this is also kind of like the default pattern. But the interesting thing, or the important thing, is that plural patterns are practically exclusive to plural nouns and adjectives, and verbal patterns are practically exclusive to verbs. I would even say exclusive. It's just that, and by the way, there's very little overlap between all of these categories. So verbal patterns don't, they're with a little asterisk, there's no verbal pattern that is the same as one of the plural patterns or as the singular patterns. The only asterisk would be, I guess, just like form one, which is just consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. Like, let's do a form one verb. Form one. Maybe these are not, oh wait, oops, filter by verbs. For example, I don't know, akhad or akal or barad. So yeah, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. What? Consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant. This is a kind of overlap just because it's just like literally just three consonants. So that does overlap with this noun pattern like adab or asad. But, you know, aside from that, verbal patterns are for verbs, plural patterns are for plural things, and singular patterns are basically for everything else. So that's good, because then if you see a word like, okay, let's go back to, let's do form two verbs, you know, like akkad or badda or bashar, this is only ever a verb. It's a little bit like, I don't know, some languages like Spanish, for example, or French, you know, there's like endings that verbs have. And so generally speaking, if a word has that ending, you would say, okay, well, this is a verb. Even if you don't know what that word is. And so that's helpful as well, because, you know, you might see a word that, I don't know, just never heard before, but you're like, okay, well, whatever this is a verb. So that can be helpful as well to kind of just get the general sense of what's going on in the word. Yeah, and just something quick that I should have mentioned before is we have these patterns, but also depending on the consonants in the root, the word may look a little bit different, but still be in the pattern. So if we look at this well, actually, you know what? Whatever, I'll just use the example here. So sof is consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant, because it is, if you look at this, consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant. It's just that when the same consonant is repeated in Arabic, generally you replace it with shut, or you add this the shut, the gemination mark, which just kind of intensifies or duplicates the consonant. Anyway, so the spelling might not be very obvious that it's in this pattern, but it is. And as we'll see, this would have a plural pattern that is associated with this type of singular pattern. So anyway, again, back to what I was saying, patterns carry various types of information. They give you kinds of hints about what they're going to do in terms of their meaning, in terms of, or what that word is going to do in terms of its meaning, in terms of what it's doing in the sentence, the syntax. Is it a plural something? Is it a verbal or a verb? But what we're going to focus on the most here is the morphological, that is like information related to the shape of the word. This information. That's what we're going to focus on today especially. So Arabic terms with the same or similar patterns in their singular form exhibit, well, yeah, okay, so similar singular patterns prefer similar types of plural patterns. So there's a kind of general association. I don't want to repeat myself because I'm going to say it later, but it's often said that, oh, well, plural, yeah, the broken plurals in Arabic, oh my gosh, it's so hard because you can't, you know, you see the singular form and there's just no way to know what it's going to be in the plural. It's not, there's not no way to know. There's no way to know 100% for sure, yeah, but there are ways to make an educated guess, honestly. And yeah, I think it's important also to kind of understand what it is that your goal should be, or like what your expectations, set correct expectations with this. Like, what's important is to, when you want to create a plural word, let's say you know a word in the singular and you want to say it in the plural and you're speaking to someone, what you don't want is to get stuck, is to get just completely blocked and be like, oh, I don't know the plural form of this verb, so I just give up. Or I just kind of, what I used to do when I was learning, or like when I was, my level was very low or whatever, I was just kind of like paraphrasing and be like, you know, like this, but like many of them, and I didn't know how to like explain, because I also don't even know how to say like plural and these kinds of things. So, so what you don't want to get is stuck like that. And what we're going to see is that there is a good way to narrow down quite a lot the possible ways that you can pluralize something. And when you want, I mean, over time you will get a sense of this and it will become pretty automatic. And at this point, for example, for me, again, there's no way to know for sure 100% with 100% certainty unless you kind of just memorize it on a case-by-case basis in a way. This is to say that it is lexicalized, which means that it just is, like the plural is that plural just because it is that way. But there is a way to, there are ways to kind of narrow down what the possibilities could be. And so for myself, when there's a word that I have never seen before, or let's say like I don't remember what the plural is or whatever, I can make a very educated guess. Sometimes, in some cases, actually in some cases there is always a specific plural, and in some cases it is an educated guess, especially for basically the three consonant words. Sometimes like there's more options, so sometimes it's more of an educated guess, but you will be perfectly understood and you're not going to get stuck in that situation. Yeah, maybe you'll sound kind of like, and maybe someone will correct you, or like you'll sound kind of silly. Like I just thought of an example earlier, like if you are learning English, right? Maybe you you know, you want to say mouse in the plural, and you're like, oh, I don't remember what it was like. You don't want to be like, okay, well, and just get stuck and be like mouse, but like many mouse, and just, that sounds even worse. Whereas, I mean, you could just give an educated guess and say mouses, and it sounds silly, but it works. Like, I mean, it's fine. You will be understood. Like, it will be understood that you were trying to say something in the plural, as opposed to like just being, I don't know. I think it's more confusing if you don't even attempt to put it in the plural. So anyway, that was just a little aside about, you know, kind of setting expectations. But anyway, so as I said, singular patterns, certain singular patterns are associated with certain types of plural patterns. Let's say the more similar the singular patterns are, the more they will share those plural patterns. Anyway, what I want to get at is how do you gauge the similarity between patterns? Like, how do we kind of categorize patterns? Because you've probably, like, before, I hope you haven't been reading this while I've been talking because I want to explain it. You may have heard, oh, well, there's all these different kinds of plural patterns and words can have all these different patterns, but there is kind of a way to categorize them and create a kind of hierarchy of them. And the most important thing to do that is going to be looking at the length-bearing elements, so to speak. So what does that mean? So when we determine the length of the pattern, we want to count how many length-bearing elements there are. And this is consonants and long vowels, not short vowels. Actually, it's quite easy because, again, in Arabic, if you look at the word in writing, the short vowels will not even be written. Quick sanity check to make sure that the audio is working. What was I saying? Yeah, when you look at a word in writing in Arabic, the short vowels won't even be written, so you can literally just count the letters. So, for example, CVCC, consonant, short vowel, consonant, consonant, has 3 length-bearing elements. CLC, consonant, long vowel, consonant, has 3. Whereas CCC, that's 4. CCL, long vowel, consonant, that also has 4. So we can kind of create this hierarchy of like most general to most specific in terms of like how we describe a pattern. And so the most general distinction is based on how many length-bearing elements it has. So we're going to look at patterns that have 3, patterns that have 4, patterns that have 5. And then those, as we'll see, draw from pretty much completely separate pools of plural patterns. So if you see what how many elements it has in the singular, you can say, okay, well, you can narrow down, okay, it's going to be one of these plurals. It's going to be one of these plurals or one of these. And actually, as you have more length-bearing, like the longer singular words have fewer plural options, whereas, as I said a little bit earlier, the just 3 consonant words with or without anyway, like 3 length words have more options, so those ones can be a little bit trickier. There's a little bit more guesswork involved, although there are still mitigating things things we can do to mitigate that. So going from most general distinctions to more specific, we want to look at the arrangements of those length-bearing elements. So what order they come in. So for example, consonant, long vowel, consonant, consonant, or essentially 1 consonant and then the long vowel, or 2 consonants and then the long vowel. Ultimately, it still has 4 length-bearing elements, but they're in a different order. So we can kind of, we have like this tree and it kind of branches out here like we have the 4 length words, and then we can kind of divide that further. And then we want to divide that further by the values of the long vowels. So whether that long vowel is a or if it's an e, that kind of gives a further distinction. And then finally, this doesn't often really make a difference, but we can also look at the values of the short vowel. Sometimes it's important. We will, as we go on, we'll see why this distinction is important. But I will say that the most important, like sort of these distinctions are go in order of more to least important. So this is going to narrow things down the most. This sometimes narrows this down, and also this sometimes narrows things down. This almost practically never. Yeah. So this I basically already said, and of course we can just describe the pattern or the word as however specifically we want. So iktab is CCA, see, it's this, but it is also this. I mean, essentially, like everything down the list belongs to some element above. So all I don't know, like all of these, or both of these, are a type of this pattern, but not all of this pattern are specifically this, if that makes sense. Yeah, and I already mentioned that the Tamarbuta, we can practically ignore it. If you want like the full detailed explanation, you can read this, but yeah, we don't really need to look at that. I don't know if this is really, I mean, if I really need to go through this, just saying like how Arabic works and like the patterns are just a characteristic feature of Arabic, and that in spoken Arabic we actually have sort of fewer types of patterns and options actually. And this is just my argument that there are only ever three-letter or four-letter roots in Arabic. It's not really especially important if we want to look at the plurals, but I just wanted to mention that because some people do say, oh, well, yeah, there are some five-letter roots, or yeah, there are some five-letter roots in Arabic. For example, I don't know, barnamij, because if you look at this, we have B, you have five consonants, right? B, R, N, M, Jim. But this is not really true. This is just a loan word. And when you actually try to inflect it in some way, Arabic kind of forces it into a three or four letter root, in this case, a four-letter root. And so actually one of the letters is completely removed. So barnamij becomes, in the plural, baramij. It just loses one of the letters. And the verb that is made out of this word, barmaj, also loses the N. And again, it's kind of fit into this four-letter pattern. And actually, Arabic is very strict about like fitting things into its patterns. Not as much for nouns, where sometimes, especially loan words and stuff like that, like for example, this, aren't really adapted. But for example, verbs, it is completely impossible I mean, off the top of my head, like it's completely impossible for something to be a verb and not be in one of the so-called 10 verb forms, or however many you want to say that there are. Uh, it's Arabic kind of forces things to fit into the system, and I think that's great because again, it kind of narrows down all the possible shapes that words can have, um, and then uh, and then inflection is also kind of more consistent with the verbs and stuff like that. In fact, Arabic, I'm not going to talk about verbs here, but in terms of verbs, like Arabic is extremely regular, much more really than other languages. It might not seem that way because the roots and the vowels can kind of interact in these kinds of weird ways, but it's actually extremely regular. There's like if you account for the effect of the vowels and creating these weak roots and all this stuff that I'm not going to get into, there's basically no regular verbs except for maybe aja. At least in spoken Arabic, I'm talking about. Maybe aja and like ta'al and like hat and things like that. But otherwise, there's no regular verbs in spoken Arabic. Um, so anyway, yeah, some of this is like my notes, so don't worry too much about it. But yeah, as I said, okay, singular patterns, let's actually look at what they are. Let's look at these sort of hierarchies in practice. As I said, I'm going to refer to these as singular patterns just because they give us the singular forms of nouns and adjectives, but other words like non-verbs, of course, may use these patterns like perhaps a preposition or something like that. But it's essentially for nouns and adjectives. So let's look at this. So remember I said that we can categorize things first of all in terms of length. So that's kind of going to be our highest category. Down here we see length 4, up here we see length 3. And then within that, we're going to look at the order of the actual configuration of those length-bearing elements, whether it's a long vowel versus a consonant or what order it's in and all that. And then we're going to look at well, in this case, we don't have any, but perhaps the value of the long vowel or something like that, although in this case, we don't see any distinction that matters. So, so what are the singular patterns? These are like the most common ones. So here we have consonant, vowel, consonant, long vowel, consonant, for example. Actually, we can, in fact, I almost think it's even better to just like, we can see all the examples we want here. So again, it's consonant, long vowel, consonant, bal, bab, bo, boom, etc. And then I give some little notes here. So only among type D weak roots. So what this means is the second letter, the middle letter of by the way, obviously this is for a 3-letter root. The middle letter is a consonant vowel, which is either wow or ya. This is like off the top of my head, the only situation where, like, why a word would have this pattern. Good. So, yeah, we have some examples: bab, sul, eid, etc. Then we have three consonants, just back to back. And so here are the different patterns. We can have ending in two consonants. So shams, bait, which comes from bait, by the way. So it's not actually this. It is actually here the ya is acting as a consonant, but the I from Standard Arabic becomes e. So it's if you ever see e or o in a word like this, it's this pattern. Not that it really makes a difference, but or like I don't anyway, because these can have the same types of plurals. In any case, shams, bayt, sof. The point is that what I wanted to illustrate by having these different words is that the apparent form may be a little bit different, but if you actually look at what's going on behind the scenes, it is this pattern. And then we have this, which is essentially the same as this. I told you that we don't need to look at the tamarbuta, but I kind of split this off because there is a specific plural pattern that is specifically for this type of word, and we'll look at that in a minute. I'm just kind of going over, like, so we're on the same page about these singular patterns. So we have ghorfe, dole, sha'a, again duplication, but it doesn't matter. Do comes from daule, where it's the consonant vowel is acting as a consonant. Yeah, ghorfe, dole, sha'a. We can also have two vowels between the consonants. So for example, balad, amar, zalame. And, you know, this kind of matters because, like, so for example, Amar, obviously, so the qa is being pronounced as a hamza, as a glottal stop, Amar, instead of qamar. So actually, if you know, based on that, if you say Amar, that means moon, and it's in this pattern. But if I said Amer, actually, like, which is without this vowel, it's this. Let's see if I can pull that up. It's actually not with a qaf, right? So it's this word. I mean, I don't have an audio for it, but anyway, this means an order or a command, and it is. It doesn't have this vowel. It ends with two consonants, amer, and that's why there's this I kind of sound there. But anyway, it's not about. The video is not about phonology. So, amer versus amar, where there is these two. So the voweling, of course, matters. And these are in different patterns. And then we looked at this pattern before, consonant, consonant. So for example, negesh, sehel, and this is limited to adjectives specifically. So this is a case. Already we can see a couple of things here. First of all, here, words with a consonant vowel in the middle are, well, can have this shape. We know that this type of word in the singular has, well, there's a common plural pattern reserved for it. Doesn't mean that all of these words are going to have the same plural necessarily, but all words with that plural will be in this singular form. Once we get to the plurals, I think this will make more sense. And then we saw that this pattern is limited to adjectives, so that narrows things down. Yeah, I think things get a little bit more interesting looking at the longer patterns, length 4, because we can have different orders of things. Again, we're going to start by looking at the configuration of the length varying elements after having counted them. There's 4 of them. Now, what order are they in? So we have like the long vowel kind of at the beginning, then we have it kind of towards the end, and then we have just 4 regular consonants, consonant. So for example, this, an example of this is like shatir, tani, khayef. So here is like now, like this is an example of like the specific values that the letters can have. In fact, I don't know if, I guess I don't list any other example of this because I don't know if there is any. Yeah, I don't know if there is any. This is just off the top of my head. That must be why I didn't list anything. And I only listed this, but yeah. And this is also known as the Form 1 active participle pattern. Or it is also the pattern of Form 1 active participles. So shatir, tani, khayif, etc. Now here we have different options with the long vowel toward the end. So we have well, now looking at the actual what do you call it? The actual value of this long vowel, we see that it can be a, it can be e. So كتاب, جمال, بخار. Notice we don't really care too much about the first vowel. And here it can be e, so رغيف, صديق, مدينة. And then it can also be u, so زبون, خروف, سخونة. By the way, quick thing, you might be thinking, I don't know if you might be thinking this, but you might be looking at this like, okay, خروف. Well, there's a vowel here, right? So why don't you write it here? First of all, I mean, we don't really care too much about the short vowels, but fair enough. Part of the reason is because in spoken Arabic, as like in very much in general, but in general, a syllable that is just a consonant and a vowel is often shortened to just the consonant, and then you start with a consonant cluster. So like this, zboon, سخونة, كتاب, etc. رغيف. I rolled that very much, but yeah. So just kind of to reflect that tendency, I've just kind of annotated them this way because this is kind of like the native, like eliminating that. Sort of kind of making this this consonant cluster in the beginning is kind of the native sort of transformation of these standard Arabic syllables, these standard Arabic open syllables where it's consonant vowel. I'm not going to talk about syllabification. I don't know how to pronounce that. Syllabification either right now, but this would have to be a syllable, and therefore, if there was consonant vowel, yeah, we would. It's common that. Or the natural tendency in the language was to remove that vowel. Yeah. Anyway, and then finally we have 4 consonants back to back. And again, there may be short vowels in between. So we can have it like this, for example. Excuse me. Za'atar, right? Consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant. Taxi, consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant. And imagine there is an E and then the ya is a consonant, but of course this gets shortened to taxi, or like it ends up, the vowel gets kind of fused to the consonant vowel because it's the same. And so this is kind of the more general form. So we're going from general to specific, right? So we have general, length 4, more specific, 4 consonants back to back. More specific, well, and this is the same as this, but then more specific, we can say, well, if it starts with ma, or well, these 3 basically are the kind of canonical place nouns. Well, then it's probably, it's a common pattern among nouns referring to a place, maktab, madrasa, masjid. So yeah, and then there's defect adjectives, but I'm not going to get too much into that because that's not really the point right now. Next we have length 5, and this is the maximum essentially, unless it's some kind of loan word, but length 5, and this is essentially only, actually no, it's not. Well, yeah, this is the same as this, so this is 3 consonants, long vowel, and a consonant. This is actually the only configuration of length 5 patterns, 3 consonants, a long vowel, and a consonant. And this is the same as this. It's just that in this case, so it starts with 3 consonants, but the second and the third consonant are the same consonant, so they're kind of fused together. Let's look at an example of that. Tabbah, right? So consonant, short vowel, consonant, consonant, which is the same one, long vowel, consonant. So how many, almost said load-bearing elements, length-bearing elements? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So length 5, second and third consonant is the same one, and we have this long vowel, right? And so here we have 2 configurations of this, 2 different values for the long vowel. Tabbah, where the long vowel is a, and for example, بطيخ, where the long vowel is E. And this pattern in particular is common among nouns referring to the doer of an action, or like also used like for like machines and tools and things like that, because it does something. Very common, but again, not always. So khafash is a bat, has nothing to do with this semantic meaning, but a lot of words do have this. Let's actually look at that here. That's because I searched this. I don't know, but yeah, is the like vendor, the seller. Thalaja, it's the fridge because it refrigerates. I don't know. Jarrah is a surgeon, although weirdly the verb means to injure, but I don't know. Jalaye, it's the dishwasher. And so on and so forth. But then there's the random one like habbar is a squid. Has nothing to do with the meaning, but khaddam, khidme, service, khaddam, servant. So this is also a good pattern to know, because there's a lot of important words that it's very productive. Like there's a lot of words that refer to doers, like professions as well, like types of machines and tools that are in this pattern. And yeah, now back to the sort of more basic one, where it's like three different consonants, long vowel consonant. We have the basic one, ختيار, usbur, anine. Remember that hamza is a consonant, so it counts, right? So a vowel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, and here we see that the long vowel can be anything. ختيار, usbur, anine. What do I mean it can be anything? What I mean is that that's not going to matter at all when we look at what type of plural it's going to have. That's what the point of these distinctions are. Like when I say, well, I'm kind of listing them in all these different, well, why didn't I separate, I don't know what example to give. I don't know. Why didn't I separate, for example, Jamal and Bukhar, because this one has a and this one has a u, or even though they have different. Because the reason to draw these distinctions is because I'm trying to separate the patterns that actually have some kind of sort of special properties or behaviors, whether semantically, syntax, although not as much, or the types of plural patterns that they can have. So when we're looking at, okay, length 5, so this is the same as this, right? So why did I split this one off specifically? Because it's a specific type of pattern. It's the intensive adjective pattern, so it's often used for like emotions, like za'lan, ju'an, hungry. This is a type of this. It's a subset of that. But I kind of grouped all the words in general that belong to this pattern in one big bag, and then I just kind of pulled away these ones because these have some special characteristics about them. And in this case, well, there's just these two different possible configurations, and this one has a specific, some specific characteristic property. In this case, the possible meaning. That's actually why up here I say this like zboon, or this like fa'ul pattern by default, because there's only 3 long vowels, a, e, and u. But these ones are associated, they have certain properties that we'll talk about when we talk about the actual plurals. These ones are worthy of grouping, these ones are worthy of grouping, and so by default we're just left over with these ones. So yeah. But again, all of these belong to this same larger grouping. So yes, you can be like, oh, well, what about if the vowel is, yes, sure. I mean, you can make an infinite amount of possible patterns, define them however way you want. But the purpose of how I've defined things is to go like, if the more specific categories will be enough to determine, to know the various properties of this word, then that's enough. And we only narrow it down if that gives us more information, if this kind of separates itself in some way from the from the more general category that it belongs to. So plural patterns, finally. Okay, so additional word patterns exist that are strongly or exclusively associated with the plural forms of nouns or adjectives. These are known as broken plurals, in contrast with sound plurals. I feel like if you're watching this video, you probably already know what broken plurals means and sound plurals mean. But in case you don't, at this point, you're probably very frustrated because I haven't explained that. So nouns and adjectives in Arabic, which are the only two things that can be plural, can be pluralized in two different ways, either regularly or regularly. Let's say by suffixation, by adding a suffix, which means, like for example, in for plural. So just you want to make something plural, just add in. The same way as in English, we just add s to make something plural, like I don't know, chair, chairs. Well, in Arabic, you can pluralize things that way, but not all words are pluralized that way. Most words, I would say, I don't really know exactly how many, but I suppose that most words have broken plurals, which are essentially, again, you take the consonants in the word and you put them in a different, not a different order, the same order, but in a different kind of configuration, maybe some extra vowels in between and things like that. And that is how you get the plural. So there's not really an analog in English, but maybe, you know, like these are just irregular nouns, but like mouse, mice, die, dice. Even though die and mouse are not similar, but they have, I don't know, similar plural. So let's just say that Arabic also has these patterns that that plural words can be in. And again, I think how it's often taught, or at least how it was explained to me. I think maybe I just didn't have that good of a teacher, but I was just told that, well, yeah, I mean, you just don't know what the plural is going to be, because you just have to put it in a different configuration, and like, how would you ever know? I don't think they said that specifically, but that's kind of what I took from it. But I want to say a couple of things before you even look at the patterns. Like, first of all, yeah, so it's often said that the plural form of a noun or adjective cannot be determined on the basis of its singular form, but this is not entirely true because various factors play a role in limiting the ways a term could be pluralized. So first of all, let's get this out of the gate, because I think this is a very easy way to narrow things down first. Adjectives always have sound plurals, except there's kind of exceptions for everything, but in general, adjectives always have sound plurals. The main exception is adjectives in this fa'il pattern, which don't always, but may have a broken plural in the fa'al pattern. It's either that or it's going to be sound if it's in this pattern. So let's actually look at some examples of that. So remember earlier I said that this pattern is for adjectives. Well, all of these are going to be sound. بشع بشعين, حلو حلوين, زنخ زنخين, سهل سهلين, I guess, نغش نغشين. Yeah, actually, if you actually go to the word, you can see that as well, the inflections. So yeah, now let's narrow this down to adjectives, and let's select فعيل. So for example, so these are all adjectives in this pattern. بطيء, بعيد, تخين, تقيل, for example. So again, this is the one main exception. If an adjective is in this pattern, it's either going to be sound, it's either going to be pluralized with a suffix, or it's going to have a broken plural. But that broken plural is always going to be in the fa'al pattern. So let's look at cases of each. بريء بريئين, بسيط بسيطين. I don't know if these are really the best examples ever. عنيف عنيفين, قريب قريبين, لطيف لطيفين, I think, is the kind of simplest word here. And actually, there's a reason for that. These words, like in general, if an adjective in this pattern is suffixed or is pluralized this way, it's because it's generally a learned borrowing, quote unquote, from standard Arabic. Whereas like the more common words are actually, oh, okay, that shouldn't, I'm not getting the option for some reason of doing the فعال pattern. But let's say like, I don't know, تقيل تقال, بعيد بعاد, I don't know, رخيص رخاص, صغير صغار. So مسخن, oh, yum. So yes, where was I? Here. So that's one exception. So again, adjectives always sound plurals. Adjectives in this pattern is the main exception. They may have a different pattern, or this specific broken plural, not any broken plural, this one specifically. Then there's another exception, which is defect adjectives, which are kind of their own thing, because these also have their own feminine form. So I don't really want to get into it, but they also have a specific broken plural. It's not any, it's this one specifically, and these are rare. I mean, you can count how many words there are. This is more common, but otherwise adjectives always sound plurals. So because of the pattern nature of, oh yeah, okay, words that don't have a singular pattern generally don't have a plural pattern, especially we're talking about loan words and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into like all the little exceptions and things like that. Yes, there are exceptions, but there's exceptions to everything. Like, I mean, it would be silly to be like, oh, well, because mouse in English is pluralized as mice, well, you can never know what the plural is gonna be in English. Okay, you could, yeah, maybe that is somehow true. Like, you can't be 100% certain that I don't know, that a certain word is gonna have a certain plural in English as well. But 99.99% of the time, there is a way to know. So in Arabic, maybe it's more like 80%, but still, like it's not as bad as, you can't just say, oh, there's no way to know. So anyway, even if a term has a broken plural, the precise selection of the plural pattern is not entirely random. Not all terms in the same singular pattern okay, the point is that like words with the same length, like singular patterns of the same length, generally draw from the pool of plural patterns for singular patterns of that length. So let's just look at the example straight up. Length 3, we talked about that we have these length 3 singular patterns, like, I don't know, bab. Actually, let's look at the things that are listed. Asad, right? Length 3, 1, 2, 3 consonants. Bank, burj, urdu, ilbe, sha'a. So these are all length 3. And this is like the pool of options. Actually, there's more here because these are either for length 3 and 4, although with caveats. But these plural patterns are exclusively for length 3 words. I don't know if any exceptions apply. Maybe, like sometimes there are like little exceptions here and there, but generally speaking, 99% of the time, like a 3 length singular pattern is going to be pluralized with one of these or one of these. So let's look at examples. And well, what is it? So what is the actual plural? In this case, faul. What is the actual plural pattern? Faul. Asad, usud. Bank, bnuk. And this actually, we can also do this. We can do, what is it? Well, actually, you know what? Yeah. So I'm filtering down for verb or words that have a plural in this pattern, in the faul pattern. So Asad, usul. Asl, usul also. What did I say here? Sorry, I think I mixed it up. Asad, usud. Asl, usul. Amr, umur. I don't know. Bank, bnuk. Beit, biyut. Taht, tchut. Right? We get the idea. And yeah, that's just, you can see more examples this way. And then this is another plural pattern for length 3 words exclusively. These are exclusive to length 3 singular patterns. برج أبراج عضو أعضاء. Maybe you see this looks a bit funky or unexpected, maybe because it ends with a consonant vowel, so it ends up ending with a hamza in the plural, but it's actually following the pattern. And then I mentioned earlier that words like علبة, like شقة or غرفة, which are in this pattern but end with a tamarbuta, there's a specific plural that is only for those types of words. So, and it's very common. So, علبة, علب, شقة, شقة, غرفة, غرف. Let's look at that. So, for example, see, I separated that. Remember, I told you that I only sort of separate a pattern out if there's something meaningful about that makes that separation important. And normally the tamarbuta has absolutely no impact, but in this case, there is a plural pattern for this type of word. So not all of them will have this broken plural that I mentioned. Like some of them even may be sound. So I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Okay. جولة جولات. I don't know if that's a good example. حفلة حفلات. For example, this is a sound plural. Yeah, that was something else I mentioned, or I didn't say it, but it's written here. Like, nouns ending in the tamarbuta are more likely to have a sound plural ending in at than ones that don't. So there are ways to kind of get a sense of how something is going to be pluralized. But now we can actually narrow it. Actually, you know what I should have done? Oh no, never mind. This. So this is the plural pattern. فعل or فعل or whatever you want to, however you want to say it. أوضة أوض. بدلة بدل. بركة برك. بسة بسس. جملة جمل. Right? So that this broken plural is specifically for words in this pattern, even if not all words in this pattern have this broken plural. And usually, like if I don't know a word, if I don't know a word that is in this pattern, I often do guess that this is how it's pluralized. Sometimes I'm wrong, but this is a very common way of pluralizing this type of word. Okay, so then we have, but I think you get the idea now, right? So I'm just going to go through this a little bit quicker. These patterns are valid for either length 3 or length 4 singular words. So we have فعال, so bab, bwab, zalame, zlam. Seems like I didn't use exact. Oh, you know what? Actually, yeah. Why? I don't know. I didn't. Maybe we can find one. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that, but let's try to find. Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, in the dictionary, in the filters, I have length 3 plural patterns, length 3 or 4 plural patterns, length 4 plural patterns, length 5 plural patterns specifically, right? Oh yeah, well yeah, right. So so I mentioned this before. بعيد بعد. So I wasn't even looking at what I have it right here. So فعال can be either for length 3 or length 4 because here I have bab and bwab, zalame, zlam, but adjectives in the fa'il pattern, we said they often do have this plural pattern as well. So ikbir, ikbar, رخيص, رخاص. But otherwise, this is essentially a length 3 pattern. It's just that this type of adjective can be pluralized this way as well. And then this pattern is just indiscriminately, it can be for either length 3 or 4. Tor, tiran, amis, umsan. Why? I don't know. This one, but this is also rare. I would say this is a pretty rare pattern comparatively speaking. Let's see how many words. Of course, I still need to add more words to the dictionary, but I don't know. I'm just seeing 16. Crown, yeah, tor, tiran, jar, jiran. Yeah, animals for some reason. Far, firan. Not all of them are animals, just I noticed that. So yeah, not very common. So with if we kind of don't look at this too much because it's not very common, and we understand that this fa'al plural is specifically for when it's used for length 4 patterns, like as the plural of length 4 patterned words, um, only with this type of adjective, then essentially, yeah, we get that this is part of this length 3 group. And then now we're going to look at the length 4 plurals. We have a few different options. This is the most common one. This is the one you really want to learn because this is the most common one. As we go down the list, from length 3 to length 4 to length 5, it becomes easier to predict. Like this is the vast majority, I would say, of length 4 words have this type of plural. Maktab, makatib, shara, shawara. And like thousands, basically more. Let's see, here it is. That's an exception. What's blues, balayas, taxi, takasi, tanya, tawani. Yeah, it's kind of, that's not an exception, but there's something going on there, but it doesn't matter. So the point is that in any case, it is a length 4 word, and it is pluralized this way. This is the most common way. All of the other ones, you'll see that they have limitations. So this fu'al is limited to nouns in essentially the form 1 active participle pattern that refer to humans. So katib, kuttab, amil, ummal, writer, writers, worker, workers. Off the top of my, I can't think of others. It doesn't matter. But this is relatively rare as well. I would say because it's so specific. Form 1 active participles that refer to humans. There you have it. This fu'al is limited to terms in a pattern like fa'il, fa'al, or fa'ul. So iktab, which in standard Arabic is kitab, kutub, madine, mudun. There must be others, but yeah, kitab, kutub, madine, mudun. This one is not that uncommon, but again, this is your go-to. Maktab, makatib, shara, shawara. So yeah, you can most of the time just guess with that. Then we have this. This one does come up. Near limited to terms in the fa'al pattern. سؤال أسئلة دواء أدوية جواب أجوبة سلاح أسلحة. So this does come up quite a bit. Then we have fa'il, limited to terms in the fa'al pattern. So حمار حمير. I think that's the only example that I thought I could think of. Oop, what just happened? Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's many cases of this, at least in the dictionary at the moment. Yeah, anyway, yeah, it seems like it's the only example right now, but there may be more, but yeah. And then we have fu'ala. Yeah, limited to terms in the fa'il pattern that refer to humans. This fa'il pattern, again, it's the one for adjectives. Well, not necessarily adjectives. So faqir, fuqara, رئيس, رؤساء, غريب, غرباء, strangers, strangers, etc. I have thoughts about this, but I'm not gonna spitball here. I think these are always end up being nouns. Well, yeah, they are all nouns actually. Yeah, gharib, stranger, ghuraba, strangers. Because again, adjectives are always sound plurals unless it's the fa'il fa'al, like ikbir, ikbar, or the defect adjectives, like by the way, I didn't say what they are, but like for example, like colors, like ahmar, humur, azra, zoro, etc. So yeah, so these are all nouns. And this is also pretty rare, I would say. In fact, I want to say that this is all standard Arabic kind of borrowings, so to speak. In fact, notice the pronunciation, faqir, fuqara. Uh, so yeah, and then finally we get to length 5. And again, if the same way that I told you that 90% of the time, I would say you can pluralize a length 4 noun, like with this. Um, you can always guess with this, which sounds like fa'il. So well, I just used ain twice, I guess, because I would need to come up with a yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So maktub, makatib, shubak, shababik. It's the vast majority of, like, this is the default by far. Argile, aragil, babuj, bawabij, barmil, baramil. Just words that people would know is what I'm trying. Tarikh, tawarikh. So tarikh, history, but also date, like date on a calendar. Majnun, majanin. So this is pretty much always how you pluralize a length 5 word. This is maybe 80% or 90% of the time how you pluralize a length 4 verb. Sorry, what am I saying? Verb. Word. And then length 3 can be, that's where there's a lot of variability, relatively speaking. There's some little tricks here and there, but generally you have more options. Here it starts to get a lot more limited, and here there's only one other way to pluralize this, which is specifically limited to terms that refer to humans, available to certain relative adjectives also. So for example, again, humans, ustaz, asadze, doktor, dakatra, Masri, Masarwe, for example, Ordoni, Aradne. So again, this is very limited. Yeah, sure, I mean, these are common words, doktor, dakatra, but again, these are kind of exceptions practically. Otherwise, all of these words are going to be pluralized like this. Okay, like faqir, fuqara. Okay, fine. Yeah, these words do exist, but it's how many words are in the fa'il pattern that refer to humans, and are being used as a noun. Because again, I'm going to say it one more time. Like all of this applies practically only to nouns. The only like adjectives are only involved here. Like adjectives only have broken plurals in this specific case, and then defect adjectives, which also have their own like feminine form as well. So it's kind of like a little other thing going on there. And those are rare words. But aside from that, this is the only exception, like the only main type of adjective that has a plural, a broken plural. Everything else that we're talking about here is just for nouns. Just to be clear about that. And because, by the way, standard Arabic, which I'm not qualified to talk about, I don't believe that is the case. I believe that adjectives can have all kinds of different shapes and forms. But I'm talking about spoken Arabic. In spoken Arabic, adjectives are always sound plurals, except for like akbir, akbar style ones, and defect adjectives. Everything else here is for nouns. And again, for length 5 words, practically always. So try to, like, what you want to do, and I'm done, by the way, we're done, because the rest is about verbs that I'm not going to talk about. But what you want to do is practice hearing these words and pluralizing them and just hearing them together, and you'll really kind of get a feel for what kind of pluralization is natural. Like that's why like I'm able to like at this point, like if I don't know a word, I don't get stuck. I do guess, but you know, it gets with a high degree of certainty. As I said, in English, you can know with a 99.9% degree of certainty that a word is going to be pluralized with s, fine, but it's not 100%, but it's 99.9% great. In Arabic, maybe that's closer to 80%, but yeah, like that's still really good, honestly. So, but you need to get a feel for that because you're not because it's not inscribed in a rule. In English, you just tell someone, yeah, okay, just use S and then you'll be good. In Arabic, that's a skill the ability to guess with an 80% degree of certainty. 80% is just something I'm just saying. I'm not sure, uh, like I yeah, scientifically, but with a very high degree or a high degree of certainty or certainty, let's say, you'll be able to guess the plural or yeah, derive it in your study. Like you're gonna be studying a word and you're not gonna like when you look at the plural, you're not, oh my God, just need to like it's almost like learning two different words. It's you should look, I mean, as you develop this skill, when like you'll look at the singular word and you'll be like, oh, so the plural is, and you kind of assume, and then you look at it and you're like, okay, well, got it, and it's become super easy. Um, because when you see that plural, it's not going to be like, oh, I've never seen this type of, or like, because it'll be like, oh yeah, okay, well, makatib, that's exactly what I expected because it's maktab and it just sounds right. Or uh, you know, like I said, you know, كبير كبار, this pattern. Yeah. Okay, latif. Okay, so that's when you see that it's sound instead of this, which is maybe more what you would expect. Okay, yeah, maybe it's uh, not what you expected, but it's still you only have these two options. It's either uh, like كبير كبار or it's like latif latifin. And if you're really a nerd like me, you would know that standard Arabic borrowings don't omit that first that vowel in the open syllable. So kabir omits the kabir. It's not kabir like in standard Arabic, it's kabir. And but latif does not drop that vowel. So you would kind of know that it's a standard Arabic borrowing, and you wouldn't be surprised to see that it has that it is sound, a sound plural, like latif, latifin versus ikbir, ikbar. So there are ways to know. Now, does anyone is anyone expected to like know like sort of spoken Arabic, like etymology and all this stuff, like in order to be no. But what you want to do is to just get a feel for all this stuff by just practicing, see the words together. That's why I made these filters. So that you can actually, okay, I want to see all of the um, what's going on here. I don't know. Yeah, I want to see all the words in this singular pattern that have this type of plural, like all of the words like غرفة and all of that that have plurals like أوضة أوض, دولة دول, شقة شقة, etc. So I can just sound them out and get a sense for that. And then when I hear a word, because again, and because of the patterning of the words are going to sound similar, even though they don't. I mean, they'll have different consonants, but you'll hear the pattern itself, you know, as opposed to just a random scramble of words. You'll hear the pattern itself, and that'll give you some information about what the word may mean, what the word like what type of word it is. Like, is it like an adjective, like a color or something like that. In fact, those have a kind of pattern. Um, or you know, is it a verb or is it or is it already a plural noun? Or it'll give you information about what the plural would be. So that's what I want you to get out of all of this. Again, this information, actually, I kind of edited this a little bit, and this is on my local server, so uh, the current version of this article on PalWeb is mostly the same, but I updated a little bit here for the sake of this video. But still, the information is out there. So please do use it. Please do use the dictionary. I made it for you. I made it for myself as well, because we're all still learning. So I hope this was helpful. I know it was long, but I don't care because apparently you guys like that. So I'm going to keep doing it and know that I'm also still working on PalWeb every single day. I work on this thing. And some really exciting stuff is coming up because the Academy is finally out. and we're adding spaced repetition to the flashcards in a couple months. So there's a lot of things going on. Please come on PalWeb. I think it is the place to learn Arabic in general, honestly, because I think this is a bold claim to end my video, but I think that that spoken Arabic is the place to start learning Arabic, not standard Arabic, because it's basically because it's easier, but there are other reasons. Anyway, you can check out PalWeb because I explain a little bit of that philosophy as well. But thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you in the next one.